Hello, my name is Andy Martin. I'm the Senior Product Design Engineer for the Stove Fan Company. We'd like to introduce today basically our new latest products. The latest products is called Viking and Mini Viking. This is just a smaller version of what this is itself. We'll talk in detail about it itself. So basically with this stove fan, what you actually have is you have a stove fan, not like any other stove fan that you've seen. So what I have is the idea of a stove fan basically is to actually put out heat into the room. So what actually happens is basically this section here is attached to the very bottom itself. So that what happens is the heat gets to this section here, which then also reflects the heat up here. So the heat from the stove basically comes up here and it reflects the heat on there, up here itself. And it does the same on the other side, while protecting the middle section. So the middle section, you need to keep the middle section as cold as possible. So what happens is there's no heat from the base getting directly to here. So what happens is the stove fan itself is keeping the middle section cold and driving the heat from the outer sections, from both outer sections. So we haven't just got this, we'll talk in detail about it. So we have inside of here, we have a TEG, which is a thermal generator. So the idea of a thermal generator basically is the bottom part itself to be as hot, maybe up to 230 degrees. The top section to be 30 degrees less. So when you've got the top section 30 degrees less, it'll produce its maximum performance. Now, with this itself, right, we have 3 connection legs that comes up, 1, 2, and 3. So what happens is that gives it even distribution of heat across the TEG itself, which makes it perform itself. So this stove fan will produce around 2.3 meters a second, but it gives out hot air, right? Hot air this gives out, not cold air, right? Like most other stove fans, this actually gives you out hot air. So, and also the performance comes from this section, that section, and that section. And the reason why we have 3 sections is because the outer part is connected to one of the sections itself. So basically we've got three development heats coming from it. So we also have the heat coming through here, the heat coming through here, and the heat coming through this section itself. So you've got heat coming from all 4 areas. So basically the fan itself is our latest design fan, which is a high performance fan. And basically with the high performance fan, basically you'll get the best that you can, best performance that you can out of it. And basically we'll just put it on here now and then set it away. In the meantime, basically we'll talk about the Mini. So the Mini basically is normally used for smaller rooms, where is this one here, you'd normally use it for bigger rooms. The smaller one is exactly the same, but it just has a smaller blade size. Everything else is the same. The whole lot works in the same way. So it produces heat. So this is a heated stove fan, right? So this gives out hot air, right? So now the heat is starting to get to the outside. It's starting to get to the legs. So you're now starting to generate heat up to this section itself here. And as the heat starts to come up here, and as the fan starts to get faster and faster, then you start to get more heat. So when you put your hand out in front of this, you will actually feel, once it gets up to speed, and it gets up to full temperature, you will actually feel hot air coming out the front of this. This here basically, we have two sections on this, where we'll maybe show you on the Mini one. It has a bolted on section. Now this bolted on section, right, if you remove the bolts out of here and move what we call the horns closer to the center, if you take them off and move them to the center, that's full heat. It absolutely produces the hottest temperature you're going to heat. But it has a slight downside that it turns the speed down to about the same as an ordinary stove fan, right? So it has hot air, so the slight trade-off from that hot air is it actually sucks a little bit of the speed from the stove fan itself. Not a bad thing, but because when these get up to speed, basically, this is 2.3 meters a second. As I say, normal stove fans is around 1.4 to 1.6. So killing a little bit of speed, basically sacrificing a little bit of speed, is not a bad thing. So as you can see now, this is starting to get up to speed. It takes a little bit of time. It's a thicker base on the bottom to generate as much heat as it can. So it takes a little bit longer than some of our other stove fans of our designs. But as this gets up going here now, you can feel the heat coming, and it starts to develop all the way from the left-hand side to the right-hand side and at the bottom itself. Whereas normally on an ordinary stove fan, you don't feel any hot air at all. The only time on a normal stove fan is you'd feel a little bit of hot air at the very, very bottom itself. But as this gets up to speed, it starts pushing the hot air out. It's revolutionary. It's basically not been seen before. It takes stove fans to the next level. So that's where we are with this. Because basically this is protected in the center section there. This is basically doesn't get to a hot temperature, whereas ordinary stove fans, they do get to a hotter temperature. So this part here in the middle basically is only like lukewarm because it's being protected by each side, and then the fan segregates it off as it comes out. So this is starting to get up to speed here now, and the difference, you can just feel the hot air coming out of there. We calculate that the air is coming out from here, and we've used our instrumentation, and the temperature increase in this compared to an ordinary stove fan is around 20 degrees C hotter, right? 20 degrees hotter is taking things to a different level altogether. So I hope you enjoy our new product. I would just take this off here now, put a standard stove fan on. So the downside of a standard stove fan is basically it has no protection. So this heat here is actually getting to the upper section, which then slows it down. Basically, it hasn't got a tripod bottom. It doesn't have 3 legs at the bottom. It has a single leg. So if you were to feel any heat, you would probably feel the heat. Any heat, if it does produce any heat, at the very bottom here, you'd feel a little bit of hot air coming from there. The rest of it is actually cold. Have a look at the stove fans that you got at home. The stove fans that you got at home, and just check them. You'll feel a little bit of hot air at the bottom. And coming up the sides here, you would actually feel the cold. And when you get to here, it's stone cold. So that's the difference between a good design stove fan and the latest design stove fan. Thank you very much indeed.